All right, we're here with Kevin Bautista. Kevin, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and like just kind of your background, like what year you are, just stuff like that.
Okay.
Just a brief background.
I'm Kevin Bautista Mancilla. I am a sophomore at Central. I am from Waterford, Michigan. I'm majoring in health administration with a management minor and a culture and global studies certificate. And yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right, so we have a few questions for you. The first one is, how do you prefer to be addressed as a member of your group? So yeah, just tell us a little bit about that.
So recently, there's a new term, I guess, for I'm Latino or Mexican, but there's been a new term for how to refer Latinos or Latinas. Pretty much, we try to be more inclusive. Latinx is a new term. I would say I prefer to be called a Latino, just because that's how I've always grown up with, and I'm used to that. But like, I don't mind like the Latinx term or any of the other terms, because obviously we're trying to be more inclusive, especially with like how everything is nowadays. So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then another one is, how did you feel growing up as a member of your cultural group? So like growing up, how was that?
So obviously I come from a predominantly white town. So growing up was kind of different because I never really got to connect with my culture as much, and if I did, it would probably be like during the weekends when I would see my family partying with the family or just like anything in general. So I would say it was kind of hard, especially finding that community in my school, because I was probably one of the only Hispanics other than my sister in my school. But I would say that I got used to it, kind of, but I still somehow try to find the culture whenever I could, especially like through parties or other things like that happen in the holidays and just stuff like that.
For sure. Okay. Have you ever experienced insensitivity, prejudice, or discrimination because of your ethnic background? And then,
I would.
Sorry. And then if so, can you explain like if the situation you're comfortable with?
So I would say probably discrimination and what were the other two parts?
Yeah, so discrimination because of your ethnic background, or like insensitivity, prejudice, or discrimination.
Okay, so I would say mainly discrimination, especially now. Obviously we have political figures that are pretty much against the Latinx community, and it's kind of hard to be Latino, especially around this time of the generation, but for the most part I just live my day. I would say with discrimination, specifically we're targeted because we're known as like illegals or just other stuff like that, or even specifically like with law enforcement we're never treated exactly as how others would be, so just things like that. We kind of fit in with anyone of color as well, so yeah. Okay, cool. I would say it's a lot.
Yeah, for sure. How do you think the media has represented people from your group, and then are their portrayals positive or negative? And then playing off that, can you think of a certain time or like a certain TV show or something that you saw that happening, where like it's a negative or a positive portrayal of you in the media, whether it be a TV show, the news, or a movie?
Personally, I would say there's a mixture of both. So like at home, we obviously watch like Hispanic news. My family like doesn't speak English as much, so they obviously watch like the Spanish news, Spanish stuff. So I've grown up with like watching that, knowing more about that, and obviously they're gonna support the Hispanic community because they're all Hispanic themselves. But I also have seen a lot of negatives in the media, I would say, especially like through social media nowadays, because everything's put out there, like especially the news articles, just about any news platforms displayed on there. Specifically, I would say, I don't know if there's a specific news channel or news type of people that I would target, but I would say that there has been a mixture of both in some way or another, especially with like nowadays, like I mentioned in the previous question, a lot of discrimination usually happens, or a lot of the bad stuff. Obviously we're usually Latinos or Hispanics are usually seen as criminals, or the media likes to portray that way, or vice versa. We're seen as being successful in higher education, so it's like a mixture of both.
Okay.
I would say I can't really think of a specific example for this, but
right,
it's really just everywhere.
Okay, cool. And then do you think the media is like, overall, are they more positive, or do you think overall they're like more negative? You had to choose a side between those.
I think that would just depend on who is behind the camera, I guess.
Okay.
Obviously, our generations are very different, so our generations all have different views, different perspectives on literally anything, and especially something when it comes to race. Obviously, discrimination was literally, what is the word, I guess we banned discrimination not even 50 years ago, and like just stuff continues to happen, and especially with the media, I would say it's just obviously, like I said, probably a mixture of both, but I think it's just depends on who's like behind the camera and like whether they are positive about the topic or negative about the topic. But I would say an increase of positivity, especially with like higher education for Latinos or Hispanics. So
Okay, awesome.
yeah.
And then what role has the media played in helping you define yourself as a member of like being Hispanic? How would you say that?
Yeah. I would say, like I said, I kind of have mixed views about the media. But I would say specifically, I like seeing stuff like more Hispanics going into higher education, more Hispanics doing this or that, pretty much contributing back to our economy. Obviously, we're also known as like the immigrant population, and somehow we are always portrayed in a negative way, or seen as a negative way on us, I guess. And so I would say like the media has influenced me to go into higher education and to pretty much make a change and movement with that, because obviously we're also people too. Like, we're not just here to feed off of whatever, for the most part. So
Right.
it just, whatever is portrayed on the media I usually follow, but I would say it's helped me a lot to get to the point where I am now.
Awesome. And then we have one more question for you,
Alright.
and it is, how has the media kind of impacted your life, and how have you like seen it like directly impact you? Like, so basically, how your life would be different if there was no media coverage, basically. On you.
Honestly, I probably wouldn't know much about the hatred that usually goes on. Like, obviously, I've never experienced that or myself or anything that goes on with like that is portrayed on the media, I guess I should say. So honestly, if like the media wasn't around or if I knew nothing about it, I honestly wouldn't know that anything was happening for the most part. I would just feel like I've been living my life the way I should be, and like things happen for a reason. But obviously the media likes to put a lot of different perspectives, positive and negative. So yeah, it just really depends on like how they portray that, and it's personally impacted me, going back to the previous question, by wanting to make a change, hopefully changing that. Obviously, we all have different backgrounds, and we all come from, or learn from our parents and learn from different education systems. So it just depends on like how someone perceives someone, or learns those kind of things and then uses that to their advantage.
Yeah, cool.
So,
Was there anything else you wanted to add before we ended the interview?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's it.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you,
Cool.
Gavin. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.